Hello and welcome back to Laurice's Kitchen. Tonight we move from Greece to Italy. Well, probably closer to New York City with these meatball subs. But this is a great planned leftover meal because the meatballs you can make ahead of time. You can make the meatloaf. And the pasta sauce that we'll be making tonight is excellent with spaghetti and meatballs or just as a marinara. So let's get started with the ingredients. Okay, you're going to need enough meatballs so that each sandwich can get 3 to 4 meatballs on them, depending on the size of your hoagie rolls. You're also going to need sliced provolone, 1 to 2 slices per sandwich, also depending on how big they are. And then the hoagie rolls themselves. Now I'm using petite hoagie rolls, but you could use regular size. The rest of these ingredients are for the pasta sauce. So let's get started with that. Okay, let's start with the aromatics. This is 1 whole Spanish onion that I've diced finely. This is 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Actually, it's probably about 6 cloves of garlic plus 3 to 4 large shallots, also minced very finely. Now on to our spices. This is a half of a cup of dried parsley, a tablespoon of dried tarragon, a tablespoon of dried thyme, a tablespoon of dried ground coriander, a teaspoon and a half of kosher salt, and about a half a teaspoon of fresh ground black pepper. Now we're going to also move on to our flavorings. This is about a half of a cup of granulated sugar, and this is of course 1 cup of red wine. We're also going to need about 3 to 4 inches of this anchovie paste, and it's easiest just to put it directly on the sugar so that it can pour out easily. It doesn't stick to anything. Okay, you could also use Worcestershire, but I like the flavor from the anchovie paste better. Now most importantly are our tomatoes. We need a 28-ounce can of tomato puree and a 28-ounce can of San Marzanos. And definitely use the San Marzanos. I think they have a much better flavor, and I actually like the Cento brand best for both of these. So let's get started over at the oven. Alright, I've got my biggest pan here on over medium heat. We don't want it too hot because we don't want to burn everything. We're just going to sweat these aromatics until they are nice and fragrant and a little bit translucent. We don't want to caramelize these, so we don't want to let them go brown. Okay, these are starting to become translucent, and the smell's really good. Now, you may notice some similarities between this and the pizza sauce, and it is almost identical. Alright, next up, we want to give the spices just a little bit of a whirl around the pan. And we want to make sure we have our tomato products ready to go before we dumped all that in, because we don't want this to burn. Alright, that smells really good. Alright, we don't want this to heat too quickly or it will start to pop everywhere, but it'll still be cold. So let's turn this down to about medium-low. Alright, we'll let that warm up just a little bit. Alright, this is starting to bubble very slowly in the middle here, so we can go ahead and add our flavorings. So this is our sugar and our anchovie paste and the red wine. Alright, this is all nicely combined. Let's go ahead and put the lid on. Alright, I'm going to turn this down to low. And then we're going to let this go, and we're going to let this simmer for about 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours, stirring every 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, that sauce is done simmering over there. So now it's time to get putting these meatball subs together. First though, we need to toast our hoagie rolls. And to do that, we need to cut them in half, but not all the way in half. We should only cut them to about halfway. Then we're going to gently open them up and toast them on a dry griddle, just enough to get them toasted and warmed up so that when we put the cheese inside, it starts to melt. So let's get over to the stove. Okay, these have been toasting here for just a couple of minutes. Let's take a look at this. Okay, ow, that's hot. And yes, we don't want it to get too toasted. Yes, that's pretty good. Alright, let's go ahead and turn this off and get these assembled. Alright, so we put the cheese directly on this hot bun on one side, and that helps if these crack in half. This cheese will help hold everything together. So we're just going to put a tiny little bit of sauce down first. Okay, our meatballs. All right, and just a little bit more sauce on top. You don't want these too messy, otherwise this is impossible to eat. All right, let's take this over and get it tasted. Okay, let's give it a taste. I can see this is going to be kind of messy. That's delicious.